Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. It is great to have everyone here. We are having a bring your own topic night, which means that essentially I didn't really have anything in mind to talk about specifically. And so we will talk about whatever you want to talk about. We do have a topic to start with that Purple brought to the table. But before we get to that, let's introduce our guests and say hello to everyone in the chat. So first of all, tonight I have with me Purple rhymes with orange.
Hello.
Purple, tell us a little bit about yourself in case there's anyone here that doesn't know you.
Well, the biggest thing is that a few months ago I started transitioning to present as a woman. It's not really a new thing. It's just that this is the first time in my life I've had the support and resources to make it happen. So I've just been kind of forced to live as a man for 50 years and never was comfortable with it.
Okay, very good. And we have a new friend, someone I have never had on the show before, Claire Bear.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the invite. I'm happy to be here.
And tell
on.
everyone a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, I'm kind of new to YouTube. I've only had a channel since February. I came out to just talk about topics, discussions. I didn't find a lot of open conversations where both sides were being presented, at least in the circles I was traveling in. It was much more about attacking and, making a point. And I like having honest discussion and also like to be a little funny. I do a lot of funnier things too and try to get my point across that way. But I'm just out here doing my stuff. I do a little poetry. I'm a big reader. I'm into literature, legal. Godless, I like the legal angle of things sometimes. I like to get into a little bit of layman's terms. No professional ability in that department whatsoever. Just a layman's terms. I like to pick things apart that way. And I'm having fun with it. But I'm really happy to be here. Some of you may have seen me over. I also go over to Hereticals occasionally, which I know some of you all from there. Or over with Steve in Cheshire, who are also friends that I've paneled with before. And I'm just happy to be here and open to having a great discussion because that's my thing. I like to talk. That's the main thing about me. I like to talk.
Okay, very good. That is a good guest to have on when you're running out of things to say. Claire, I noticed that you have a bit of an accent. Would you mind telling us where you're from, or is that something you'd rather not reveal?
No, it is a big topic of discussion everywhere I go. All right. Here's the problem. I am an American. I am from New Jersey. However, I have very strong European influence in my family. My nan is full Irish. I have a lot of influence with my language that way. So I use terms and words and things. I spell things sometimes the wrong way. It's the way I was brought up. As I got more comfortable on YouTube, it just comes out. They call it New Jersey peeing. I don't know what else to call it. It's New Jersey, which is the East Coast of the United States. And with a little bit of European influence, that's all I can say. I have no idea what it sounds like to everybody else. To me, it's just me. But I've heard it sounds Australian. I've heard it sounds European. I have no idea.
I had assumed that you were Australian, especially since I first saw you on Six Pack, where there's a number of Australians there. So yes, I thought it was Australian.
Yeah, what did you think, Purple?
Well, I could tell it was East Coast, but I thought it was closer to Boston.
Oh, there. Oh, okay.
Very good. Very good.
Right.
Well, I did live in New York for 6 years, so not New York City, but just central New York State.
I love New York State. You can hear more of the New York type of the accent come out if I start getting riled up and maybe use a little bit of bad language. You could tell.
Okay, and I want to say hello to all of our friends in the chat. We have Greyheart Labs, Taram, and I'm sure Taram probably won't be able. Oh, Taram says morning. I know that it's probably around 2 or 3 a.m. where Taram is because Taram is in the UK. I was going to say Taram is probably going off to bed, but maybe Taram decided to have an early to bed, early to rise day and is getting up in the morning right now. And we also have Mage Grey Wolf and God equals the square root of -1. And God equals the square root of -1 has already given us a topic to talk about. Now, Purple has a topic that Purple brought. So we're going to start with Purple's topic. And
Okay.
God, we will get to your topic second. So let's start with your topic, Purple. Do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, well, yesterday was National Coming Out Day. And one of the things that I've, had people who from outside the LGBT community, ask me about, why I should come out and, just why I felt I needed to talk about it publicly or can't just, live my life and leave it alone because, some people don't want to really hear about it. But there's a lot of people who are, either from the area they live in or because of family or work that they can't be out. They can't just openly be themselves and live their lives. So I think it's important that, those of us who can, who are in a safe enough place to be out and basically, I think we need to force society to have these conversations until it becomes so normal that nobody, pays too much attention to it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I feel exactly that way about people who are gay. I feel like it is such a normal thing to be that when someone comes out as gay or someone announces that, hey, I'm the first gay NFL player, I'm the first gay person to win a PGA title. I'm like, okay, why does that matter? Because being gay is just, I mean, you might as well announce that you're the first person to wear orange shoes to win a PGA title. To me, it seems like, just an absolutely normal thing to do. But you're absolutely right, Purple. It's the more we hear about it, the more normal it becomes, and the more we come to realize that, this is just a thing.
Well, and I've seen it's just a regular cycle with society that we keep going through. I was a child in the early 70s. So it's like I've seen a lot of things that were considered milestones when it was the first woman to do it. And just that, we have to keep pushing society to the idea that there isn't anything unusual about this and just, you don't have to pigeonhole people, just treat everyone the same.
Exactly. It's exposure. It's like knowing about it that helps to get the conversations going and gets people more comfortable. And, most people just may not even know. They don't know how to approach a subject or how to talk about something. And the more you do it and the more they're exposed to it, the easier it gets, because everyone should be allowed to tell their truth, to tell their story without having any kind of repercussions that are so harmful. So I agree with you. It's very important if you're in a safe space to make yourself known so others can see you, so they can get some comfort and some knowledge that they have their tribe out there. There are their people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know those aren't probably the right words, but so that they feel a sense of community, that there are others like them and that they're not alone. Because the worst thing in this world is when people feel segregated and alone. So anything that we can do to prevent that in any situation, I'm all for. So.
Now, Atheist Edge had a guest on just a few days ago, and his name was Khalil, and he recently converted to Islam, and he had been an atheist. And one of the things that they were talking about was the fact that they are getting a lot of atheists saying, you can't identify as Khalil, that's not your name. And a lot of people were saying just that, if we are going to accept people who are trans, people who are, people who are non-binary, and, you want to identify with particular pronouns, you want to identify with a particular name, who are we to say that that's not your identity?
Yeah. Okay. Who are they? Just, I don't get the argument about that's not his name because, anybody can go and have their name legally changed to anything they want.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I remember when Lou Alcindor changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I
Mm-hmm.
was quite young, um, and I didn't totally understand it. But after about 5 years, I was so used to both names, I couldn't even remember which one was his original name and which one was his new name.
Right. No, but it is
Actually,
that right.
I never remember that he even changed his name. It was just always Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Mm-hmm.
All the time that he was in the papers and on TV. So,
Mm-hmm. I feel the
And Jenny
same. I
Morgan is
couldn't
here.
remember it. Hello, Jenny.
well,
Right.
and
You remember when?
I
Are
guess
you
it,
old enough?
it kind of hit me because, that's part of my transition process is, that I've picked a new name and now I've got to go through the process of getting all of my official paperwork changed over to the new name,
Mm-hmm.
which I
Mm-hmm.
expect is going to take about 6 months to get it all done.
Mm. And Maya is here, and Nerdy Rodent is here as well.
Mm.
I feel the same way about atheism. When I first deconverted, I wasn't really sure what to call myself, and I called myself agnostic because I do not rule out the possibility that a God exists, that, it's more of a force of
Mhm.
nature type God, not a personality God. But after hearing some atheists talk about how we need some cohesiveness, we need some community, and if we all would identify as atheists, even though we have nuances to our atheism,
Mhm.
that it allows us to be a more recognizable demographic. And so that's
Right.
when I started using the moniker atheist, even though
Mhm.
if you really want to get technical, I'm more of an agnostic than an atheist.
Mhm. Yeah, but I agree with that. The uniting under the term atheist because of the general belief, or it does help make a better sense of community and get the message out there.
Right. And politicians do not take us seriously at this point because we are too
Mm-mm.
small a demographic for them to
Mhm.
consider our views. But when they realize that, no, we actually are more than 20% of the population now and are growing, pretty soon they're going to have to take us seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a matter of organizing and getting in the united front out there, I guess. Because I think I know for myself when at first you kind of hesitated to join a larger community because I was so against what was happening in the community I was leaving, that the organization of it and the forcing of a message, it all just hit me the wrong way. And I was very much against organized religion and the damage that it caused. So I was hesitant to become part of a larger group that was even anti, because just being in a large group, there's the chance that might happen again. So I could see why it's hard to
Mm,
organize us all together, because there might
mhm.
be that little bit of resistance there. It was for me. So I don't think I'm that different than everybody else, that it may be a problem when you're first coming out. You don't want to necessarily jump right in, become organized and speak out and do it, do everything. Be-
Well,
Oh,
and we have a big crossover between the communities, but, I have heard a lot of people saying that coming out as atheists, they got a lot more negative feedback than they did coming out as gay or lesbian or anything like that.
mm,
Mhm.
mm. That's
It is
interesting.
it is hard in your own family or in your friend circles. It's not something in my family or friend circle that we even can talk about without having much discourse, much heated arguments. Not even an argument, just like nobody wants to hear. Completely, they don't want to hear about it at all. It's like it's just a subject that is closed off completely. Now that my parents are gone, it's a little freer, but not so much, because we were all raised the same. So.
And I need to recognize the super chat. Thank you, Skits Crasher, for the super chat, and hello, Crasher. Boy, that's hard to say
Yeah.
5 times fast.
I do like the
Skip
cat.
scratcher, somehow to me, that's like crashing a skip loader.
I'm thinking of someone that, a group of people are on stage having a skit and someone crashes the stage and just jumps in and joins them.
Yeah, like a massive improv just starts to happen,
Right,
right?
right,
That's exactly
right.
that's
Mhm.
exactly what I was thinking also.
Okay, let's get to God equals the square root of -1's topic, and let's see if we can do it any justice, because I'm not sure that I know much about this. My
Mm-hmm.
topic, relegating organized religion to the status of astrology.
Yeah, well,
Um,
and Taram had also thrown in a topic that ties into this of why do we seem to treat people with silly titles like pastor, bishop, priest? So I think the two of those actually tie together quite a lot.
Oh,
yeah,
so
um, there was a movie that I saw probably a decade and if I say a decade, then it was probably 2 decades ago. It was called I Know My First Name is Stephen, and it was based on a true story of the kidnapping of Stephen Stainer. And one of the reasons why the person who kidnapped him was able to hold him for so many years without him being able to get away is the man posed as a pastor. And anytime
mm,
someone came out to question him, he would just put on a collar and say, "Oh, I had to take in this poor boy because he had lost his mother, and yeah, he says he was kidnapped, but he's really mine. It's just that his mother died." And he had
mm,
all these excuses. And eventually Stephen gets away. Stephen was kidnapped when he was about 5, and he gets away when he's about 15. But yeah, that was, it was that deference that people paid to
mm,
him, not even bothering to check out his credentials, that he wasn't a pastor at all.
mm. And I'm wondering if here in the States, at least on the East Coast where I am, if that deference is actually as strong as it used to be. It's actually, I don't see it as much, the
Mm,
deference, just bowing down originally. There's so much negativity that's getting reported, the things that happen with the Catholic Church and the fundings and the changing of laws on the East Coast here to make prosecutions easier for
Yeah,
children. So I'm hoping that they get held accountable a little bit more, and
I
the
think it's
deference isn't
also
there automatically. Yeah.
I think it's also a generational thing that
Mm-hmm.
the older generation basically was brought up with the idea that priests were above suspicion of anything,
Mm-hmm.
and the newer generation is growing up seeing these things in the news all the time, so they're realizing that yeah, no, these people don't necessarily deserve that level of respect
Mm-hmm.
and for everything to be waved off.
Mm-hmm.
mhm. So just
When
people like the rest of us.
Yeah, because like when they're organizing and just called, for-profit churches, they're all out here preaching under a title and with a PayPal link right under their name or whatever. I lost a lot of deference. I don't see it in the younger generation behind me, the deference there as much. I don't see the amount of respect. As a matter of fact, most of my nieces and nephews will not subscribe to any organized religion whatsoever. They say that they believe in the church of treating people right, which is
Hmm.
kind of nice to see because
Yep.
it's more like what I believe, even though we don't get to talk about it a lot. They do not want to become part of the organized because they do see all of this, gathering of money, and actually where the money is going is making rich pastors, bishops, priests, and not necessarily the good works that it is supposedly supposed to be doing. If they're doing so much with all of that, why is so much damage being done also? So, you know, so I'm thinking it's waning. That's my statement. I do think the deference is waning, and in astrology, well, I think that's waning too, because although you could ascribe to the stars and the scientific part of it, it's the what is the term, the woohoo part of it that I have an
Oh,
issue with.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
That I can't really subscribe to that also. So
Well,
you
and
know.
I
again, I think
never
more and
did.
more people are realizing just the astrology predictions are so vague that yeah,
Mhm.
they could apply to anyone.
Right.
Well,
You
and
become
they
more.
have to. because there's only 12 signs of the zodiac, and if you're going to say that of all the humans on the entire planet, 1/12 of them are 1/12 of them, this is what's going to happen to this group and this is going to happen to this group. It's not like each of these groups are all going to have the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Chinese zodiac better anyway. By the Chinese system, I'm a dragon. That's better than a crab.
Well, I come off the same no matter which system you use. Under the Greek system, I'm the bull, and under the Chinese system, I'm the ox. So I'm just about the same thing either way.
I like godless. God equals the square root of -1. Religion equals woo. I think that's kind of what I said in simple terms, in much more words, because I'm so chatty. But yeah, basically that's it for me. Religion is woo, and astrology is woo.
So do you think we're going to be coming to that point, in another 50 years or a couple more generations, that most people are going to be regarding religion as, not being any different from astrology?
I don't know. I don't think we'll go quite that far.
I don't. I would just hope that people would get a little more sensible about organizations in general that are trying to make people think one thought, one path, and not gather any other information from anywhere else, to kind of get away from cult thinking and manipulation. I do think they causes damage. I really do. I don't know so much the belief in astrology would cause as much damage, but I do see the damage that organized religion can do.
Well, and actually, I think one of the things that has really, is gradually eroding Christianity is they tell people to read their Bibles, but I think that they only really had the full following when most people hadn't read the Bible. And they really only get the loyal followers from the people who haven't read most of the Bible and only know the parts of it that the priest tells them from the pulpit.
Right. Or at least let them ask questions about it. It's really hard to hear you read your Bible, go to your Bible, and then don't you question what it says. I don't have to answer that. Like, you should know. You should know. Like, that's where it becomes really uncomfortable. When you don't get to ask questions about anything that you read, you got a problem. Like, there's something wrong here if you don't get to ask a question.
That's actually what was the final thing that made me give up the Bible. Was when I was a teenager, I tried to read it cover to cover, and I found parts of it very disturbing, and I actually arranged for a couple of private conversations with the head pastor of our church. And in the end, basically, he said that, well, we try not to put too much stress on the Old Testament. You should just skip ahead and go to the New Testament. And it's like, okay, so everything's based on this book, and you're telling me to ignore the first 2/3 of it. And that was the last conversation I had with him.
Yeah, because it's like cultivating a message. It's like trying to back into a narrative. It's all the things we're against when we're trying to have intelligent conversation. Okay.
Okay, we have another topic from Greyheart Labs, and he suggested it twice, and I'm trying to find the part. There we go, where he suggested it the first time. I don't even know how to say this. Ayurveda medicine? Indian pseudo medicine, seed cycling. I don't even know what this is. Can somebody elaborate?
I do believe that is some type of organic medicine belief in using, does that include like aromatherapy and oils and things like that? I know it's some kind of organic natural medicine based science, some of it scientifically based on, the properties of these things, but I don't know enough about it to have an educated discussion about it, to tell you the truth. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Greyheart, but I would, I'm just going to be honest and say, I'm not even sure how I can combine them. I know in Indian medicine, they do go back to a lot of like the roots of this, but the scientific properties of plants and pulpuses that we know work, because that's where science and medicine is all coming from, like that, back down to the grassroots of it all. But I'm not sure how how you're asking us to tie the three together. Um,
Yeah, I don't understand any of those terms well enough to really have
mhm.
any input on this. I would need it defined better.
I will tell you this: you've tickled my Google bone. I will be looking them up to find more about it since I couldn't speak on it because
Oh
that's
yeah.
how I am.
Well,
Like now, I'm curious. Yeah, now I'm gonna
okay,
want to know.
I just pulled something up. So
Hmm.
I will put it on screen. Let me share it a moment. There we go. There we go. Okay.
Hmm.
However you say this word, Ayurvedic
Oh,
medicine.
oh, the
This is from the
metals.
CDC. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, some preparations may contain lead, mercury, or arsenic in amounts that can be toxic. Is this effective? A few studies suggest that preparations may reduce pain and increase function in people with osteoarthritis and help manage symptoms in people with type 2 diabetes. But
Hmm.
most of these trials are small and not well designed. There is little scientific evidence on its value for health issues. How much do
Hmm.
we know about it? The components have been described in many scholarly studies. Only a small number of clinical trials using these approaches have been published in Western medical journals. About 240,000 American adults use this.
Hmm.
It's an ancient Indian. When they say Indian, I'm not sure whether they mean Native America or from India. Medical system based on ancient writings that rely on a natural and holistic approach to physical and mental health. It's one of the world's oldest medical systems and remains, it's from India and remains one of India's traditional healthcare systems. It combines products mainly derived from plants, but also includes animal, metal, and mineral. It includes diet, exercise, and lifestyle. So
Hmm.
evidently, there are some studies that there could be some effectiveness to it, but um, really, we need more study in this area.
Yeah, it sounds like it's they're saying levels of toxic metals that could be dangerous.
Hmm.
So I think that would even make it hard for them to,
Hmm.
do any kind of clinical studies or that.
Right. And isn't seed cycling, isn't that the balancing of our natural hormone system, the estrogens and everything? Isn't that what the seed cycling for? So maybe that's how they're tying it in together, that how do we feel about using these systems to bring them all to increase
Mhm.
fertility in women at set times and to fix hormonal
Well,
problems? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
the
it
seeds.
it had mentioned arsenic, so I know like
Hmm.
you can get arsenic from like apple and peach seeds.
Right. So it is it's obviously organic. So, if the Ayurvedic medicines are based on organic compounds, of course, there's going to be some of these arsenic and some of these metals in them.
Yeah,
You know,
Jenny has a
but
point there.
Jenny has a point here. You're much more pain free when you're dead.
this is tr- this
Well,
is
yeah, I would certainly appreciate anything that would help with the arthritis, especially, it's chilly and rainy right now, so my
mhm.
hands and my knees are really stiff.
Well, that one study they mentioned from 2013 says that all four methods that they studied, and one of them being Ayurvedic, all had the same type of results for reducing arthritic pain. So, that's good news there. That, I guess it can't all be not good because that's where our science and our medicine is coming from. All of these beliefs
Yeah,
from before. It had to start somewhere.
Mhm,
It's just,
mhm.
so a lot of Chinese medicine and Indian medicine, they had formulas that are now compounds that we probably take on an everyday basis, and we're
well,
just
yeah,
not even aware of it.
we
You know.
got aspirin because somebody
Hmm.
realized that chewing on willow bark helped relieve pain.
Hmm. I mean, do
Uh,
either of you take a tincture during the winter at home, like some kind of concoction that you make yourself to increase your vitamin C or your immune system in some way? I know I do, and it might be woo woo, but I do like elderberry and ginger and honey.
Well, I don't
And
use anything like that, but I do keep a bottle of peppermint spirits because it helps settle a bad stomach.
mm-hmm. So that would be considered like a homeopathic or natural, or even one of the older medicines, so like it
And
all comes from somewhere.
yeah, I've also found that lobelia, is good for helping quiet a cough. It's as good as any of the
Mm-hmm.
over-the-counter cough syrups.
Mm-hmm.
My fiance had put me onto that because it's what she used when she quit smoking to,
Mm-hmm.
quiet down the smoker's hack.
And there is also the use of zinc to shorten the symptoms of a cold. Because it actually does something, I think, with like tightening everything up so you just don't spread it as much, because the part of a cold is that you just keep reinfecting yourself. So
And Skitscratcher says hard pass on the deadly metals, and he's right. I would not take something like that without better studies behind it.
Yeah.
However, some of the medicines that we use are based on things that, were you not taking it as a medicine, it could be either damaging or deadly. For best
Right.
example is chemotherapy.
Exactly.
Chemotherapy is based on mustard gas, which was a nerve agent.
Well, and most medicines would be toxic if you took them in
Right.
too high a dose.
Which is exactly why you have to have a prescription for them. Yep.
Right. And it all comes back. And it all comes back from all of these ancient sciences and all of these beliefs.
Although,
and then go on.
Well, you were saying that study said that all four methods had equal results, and of course part of that study should have been to have a placebo group and see if any of the four, did they all have the same relief results as a placebo group?
Oh, that would.
So was it just the psychosomatic results that people thought it was going to help, so they reporting less pain?
I'm sure they might have put that in there. Most studies do have a placebo control. It's part of how, at least here in the United States, most of the ones I see do have a placebo control. That's what they call the control group, where they think they're under the medication so that they can find true symptoms and not true symptoms.
Well, just the article was saying that the stuff that's been published, hasn't been well-designed studies, and I'm wondering if that was one of the criticism, that none of the studies that have been published had a placebo group to compare to.
Yeah.
Or maybe the sample sizes were too small, or maybe they chose only one population demographic. Yeah. It could be any number of things. But placebos generally are 30% effective. And so, whenever you see, this product is 25% effective, that's not even as good as not using anything.
And that's been proven over and over again, that mind over matter sometimes is part of a good healing process when medicine is involved. I've been involved on the peripheral and inside the medical community for quite a few years before I retired. And I'd have to say that it was a good outlet of mind over matter, or positive belief, or actually trying to take control of our situation, even though we have especially with what we call chronic pain situations. So someone is dealing with something that is causing them pain on a daily basis and it's not escapable, especially something like nerve pain, which no matter what medication is out there, it's not going to get rid of it. It just deadens everything else around you. Like you're not you, to get rid of nerve pain. There are tricks and techniques that I know that worked. I suffered from nerve pain for many years, and it got very debilitating to where you can't think straight. You're not able to concentrate. You lose a part of your natural personality, so to speak, and how you interact with the world. And they actually taught me a little bit of a hypnosis thing when I was younger, to actually recognize the pain, talk myself out of the pain, and push it to the back of my head. It got to be a little dangerous, because I broke an ankle once and did that, and then didn't realize my ankle was broken anymore because I didn't feel it. But you can, they just taught you repeatedly to put it back, push it back. If you acknowledge it and accept it, and then kind of like pushing through. And it did help my medications work a little bit better. I won't say it made everything 100% better, or that I didn't feel pain, because that would be a bold-faced lie, and I don't do that. But it did help. It actually did help. And I was surprised, because I fought it. I fought it tooth and nail to think that could possibly be possible.
Yeah.
But our brains, the way our brains function, our whole body is mind-boggling, the things that it's able to do. So
Oh,
why
yeah.
wouldn't it be able to do that too?
I
And that
actually
is
often use meditation techniques for pain management, and even to the point where I shredded 3 of my fingers in a power saw that they gave me I forgot. I'm having trouble with the name of the stuff again, but the narcotic painkillers, and it's like I was able to get by with only taking one a day, basically just because when it started getting really bad, I'd just kind of go into the meditation state and it's like, okay, I know what's wrong. It's not going to kill me. We've taken care of it as best we can. So let's just ignore this and get on with what we have to do.
Yeah. There is some power in control, in actually taking control of the situation ourselves, and acknowledging what we're feeling and what we're going through. I truly believe in that. It does make the difference in getting through it or not.
There's another topic in the chat that I'd like to bring up. It's from Vesta Freya. The more I see Matt Powell, the more convinced he is a living embodiment of a Matryoshka doll for the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Oh, well.
Yeah, Matt Powell definitely thinks he knows a lot more than he knows. I don't think there's anyone who has done a better job of cutting him down to size than the friendly atheist. Hammett caught a video that Matt made where he claimed that all humans are evolved from African Americans. And
Yeah.
Hammett went to town on that one. And Matt realized afterward that, that was a pretty stupid thing. Even Matt realized that was a stupid thing to say. He took that one down. But I even borrowed that piece that Hammett saved for a video that I did on Matt Powell, just to show how little he understands about evolution. The one thing that I find really disturbing is the fact that Matt Powell has moved to Dinosaur Adventureland.
That I find disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kent Hovind had intended originally to pass his ministry to Eric, but when Kent got into his legal battles, Eric spun off his own ministry that he wanted to be kept separate of the legal problems that Kent was in. And so Eric has his own ministry and Kent had no one to pass the reins to. And one of the things that I did a video on, probably 8-10 months ago, was that I feel like Kent is just a spent old man that's past his time, and it's time to put him out to pasture. And it's time for him to just enjoy his grandchildren and live out his retirement years. And I kind of think that's what he's getting ready for, and that's why he's brought in Matt Powell, so that he can pass the reins to Matt Powell.
And so they're just completely going past his son because of the other ministry, and just like finding someone more suitable to his nonsense. I guess, is that the word? I was going to say his beliefs, but nonsense just seemed to me to fit better. But
yeah, it fits.
One of the things that Matt Powell did recently that I was just I couldn't believe that this happened, but he did a video explaining why he thinks that scientists think that dinosaurs farted themselves out of existence. And when he made that statement, and a lot of atheists really pushed back on him about that. And he doubled down by making another video where he brought out a children's book on dinosaurs and showed in the book where it said that they might possibly have farted themselves, or they may have died from methane gas, and methane gas comes from farts. And he said, see, this book proves that dinosaurs could have farted themselves out of existence. And I commented to that video, dude, that's a children's book. Why don't you try
Mhm.
reading
Well,
something that's for adults? Well, yeah, and there's more to it than that. But what really got me was I got a heart from Matt Powell on that comment.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, oh.
And then
Maybe he
it
was
was
trying to delete it and he hit the wrong button.
good point. That could be. But Purple, you were going to bring up a comment about that?
Well, just I kind of know where that started, just because I've been amateur paleontologist all my life,
Mm, mhm.
and there were some articles like back in the late 90s, early 2000s, that were speculating that the amount of methane that the dinosaurs produced could have had an effect on the climate.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that came out in a video that somebody did in response to his, and I can't remember who did it. It was probably Vice Trino, but I'm not sure. But they actually got the book and put that quote into context, where it said
Mhm.
there are several theories of how the dinosaurs went extinct. And they explained about four of them, and when they got to that one, they explained it sort of like, there's even a small group of scientists that actually believe, they presented it as an outlier theory that no one really takes seriously. And yet that was Matt Powell's proof that it's true.
Yeah, I think the bit about the dinosaurs came up because there was, that period that, people trying to say that like global warming was actually because of cow farts and not really because of industrial pollution.
Exactly. Yeah. They were
This is
blaming
a
it on the cow farmers. Yeah.
Right, right. This is a very interesting comment. I actually went to a church when I was a teen where the pastor showed a documentary about how dinosaurs farting themselves into extinction. I've never heard anyone speak of this until now.
Wow. I thought it was new. Like it was just something odd and strange. Like I had not heard it until recently, actually. But
It's like I
that's
said,
bizarre.
I know that it was kind of thrown out there a couple of decades ago, but no one really took it seriously.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Yes. Well, it does sound like a joke. It does.
And
And if you have to use a children's book to prove your point, I mean, it is a joke, right?
Well,
I mean,
and also this really is part of the scientific process that, we've got a big question and, then there's going to be a period of time where everyone's throwing out their opinions and, some of them will make sense, some of them will seem really outlandish, and then the scientists get to work on examining each of these ideas to see which one there's evidence for.
and Vesta says that Dr. Peel suffers from a case of irritable Powell syndrome.
yeah, someone needs to explain this banana thing to me. Like, I'm lost about the banana. Like, there really
Okay,
is a. Go on.
Yes, Godless Scummer is correct that Matt Powell had a giant inflatable banana in his backyard that he called Dr. Peel. One thing that I am wondering is did he bring it down to Dinosaur Adventureland? Now,
I
Dinosaur
wonder.
Adventureland is about 3 hours from where I live. I mean, I could easily do that in a day trip.
But
I need to get.
Why does he have the banana in his? Like, I don't get it.
Actually, I don't think he actually has it. I forget now who it was that started it. But this was something that was started as a rumor on an
Oh,
atheist channel,
okay.
and everybody ran with it that, it was always allegedly he has this giant banana, just
Okay.
because he was always saying things about all of the prominent atheists about that, allegedly this and allegedly that, and like trying to pin accusations of strange things on people, but being able to backpedal and say, well, I didn't say that was a fact. I just said it was something I heard.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think that's good, nerdy. Do children's books count as peer-reviewed research? In some circles, it appears to be so. I mean, like quite humorous ones.
Well,
actually.
if you're admitting that your peers are 5-year-olds.
Good point. Very good point.
Oh, good.
Uh,
Oh,
Vesta
very-
says it was Simon Dan that started it.
oh, okay.
Okay.
So, all right, because I do find it very funny, and I'm like, this has got to be a joke, right? Because this is like I need to know more, but now I feel better. It's
Yep.
like,
And
So
that
we do-
being said exactly what I was thinking, which is I think it's a throwback to the banana thing Ray Comfort used to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ray Comfort did a half an hour video on how the banana proved,
God.
yeah, it proved God. It proved divine creation because the
Mhm.
banana, fit the human hand so perfectly and all this, not realizing that the banana is the result of extensive, selective breeding and everything for hundreds of
Mhm.
years. So the banana that we know today is pretty much man-made, that
Mhm.
you wouldn't recognize a banana from even 100 years ago as being the same fruit.
Mm-mm.
Well, I'm also thinking that, by that logic, we should never eat hamburger because a cow doesn't even come close to fitting in my hand. So obviously, God never intended for us to eat the cattle.
Mhm. Yeah, that's the thing, is they never take their statement and like follow it all the way out or all the way around. Like they leave it wide open for all of this, and it's why they have to close off thinking in those circles. Like you can't question and you can't answer everything
Yeah.
because they just don't do the work. They just don't do the work in making it a solid statement or a solid foundation of anything.
And that's really always the point of organized religion, is they want you to just accept an authority and accept everything they say as fact and not question
Mhm.
things.
Well,
Mhm.
those are two steps in forming a cult also.
Mhm.
Two key. They have their own language. That's cultish. You cannot doubt in the belief. That's cultish.
Mhm.
You have to assign your time, and everything in your life to their organization. That's cultish. Can you tell I read Stephen Hassan again recently? So, but yeah.
Junie brings up an interesting and fun topic that says, had fun at the museum. Speaking of paleontology, wish I had. Wish I can actually remember what I learned there. When was the last time you all went to a museum? So I think that could be a fun topic. That one's an easy one for me because I went to the MoMA Museum just a week and a half ago.
Mm.
Um, I I have an uncle that died in 2020, and because of COVID, we could not have a memorial service for him. So we've got an echo here. Somebody's got either earphones or something. We've got an
Hold
echo
on.
here. There, that's better. Thank you. Oh, nope, it's still there.
Yeah, I was checking it, and even when I mute my mic, it's still there.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, we had my aunt had a memorial service for him in Greenwich, Connecticut, and my husband and I. The service was on Friday. It was actually not a service; it was a luncheon at their country club. But then on Saturday, my husband and I took the train into the city, and we went to the MoMA Museum for the day, and we had a wonderful day. So, yeah, that was my most recent trip to a museum. For me, the strangest experience of going into the MoMA was we started on the fifth floor because I knew we wouldn't have time to do the whole museum, and I knew that by starting at the top and working our way down, we would start with the older things and work toward the things that I was less interested in. Um, and I came to a Picasso and I went, oh my gosh, it's a Picasso. And then there's another one and another one. There's a whole room full of Picassos.
So,
Yeah.
oh, oh,
Yeah.
oh,
And
I, I, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, and I saw so many paintings that are so world renowned. Starry Night is there.
Mhm.
Christina's World is there.
Mm.
Um, there's several Jackson Pollocks there. You know, it was just absolutely amazing. Go ahead,
I,
Claire.
I love the MoMA. I go there as often as I could before pandemic. I have not actually been to a museum since this all started many, many, many months ago. Although I have. One of the things that the pandemic did put for us in the lockdown is that a lot of these organizations put online tours for everyone who was going to be home. So I spent many days touring with my nieces and nephews, going in, like organizing with family and the kids who were home from school, and going all over the world to all the open tours that we could for months and months and months. So that I did. Like we went all through some in England and in Ireland and all over the United States, and just so many I can't even mention. But there was like a website that they put out, and it linked like so many of them because they were worried about the kids being home, with nothing to do, and it was a lot of fun. So I enjoyed it. But MoMA, oh my God, that is like, yeah, it's like I could sit there for the whole day. Just
That is amazing, Claire. I didn't realize that they had done that. Does the Louvre have something like that?
the Louvre was one of them that you could go through because I had never been, and we got to do a virtual tour. They didn't have every room open. Some of them were smaller than others. Some didn't have
Mhm,
the technology in place, but the ones
mhm.
that were more technology advanced, that were doing those kinds of displays anyway, they really ran with it, and it built up for quite a while. It was like the whole first year. It kind of died down after a while when they started opening for like little bits here and there. I guess it got pretty expensive actually to keep
Mm.
staff running it and things. But yeah, it was great. I liked it.
I saw the Louvre in 1977.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a long time ago. I remember seeing the Statue of David, and I remember seeing the Mona Lisa, but that's
Mm-hmm.
all I really remember.
And a lot of them are replaying exhibits that they had on file from before that they had that weren't there anymore. So you could still find, maybe you could still find some of the streams because they put them up as free, free admission and all. And I don't think that they could actually charge now for them since it was already out there. But there were just a lot of different displays, a lot of different things that had happened in the past that they just happened to have record of, and they just made them available. So it was really cool. And that's a great question.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
I'm
Nerdy says
not big
VR
one
tours
for.
are fun. I'm sorry, what
Sorry.
would you say, Purple?
I'm I don't really have the kind of eye for art that most people have. Yeah, actually, I tend to feel a little cheated because I clearly don't get as much out of it as most people do. But the science museums were always my thing, and that was part of the thing that when I was stuck in Michigan, there weren't any museums up there worth anything. So part of getting back to Minnesota was to go back to the Science Museum. When
Mm-hmm.
I had lived in St. Paul years ago, I had a membership and was there all the time. And even my original male avatar was done by Paul Agia, and that was I sent him a set of pictures from the Science Museum of me and Fafner, the Triceratops, at the Science Museum of Minnesota, and just asked him to morph them together.
Nice. Nice. I didn't realize that. That was sweet of him to do that for you.
It was one of the premiums he has on his channel that anyone who subscribed on Patreon for more than $5 a month, that he would
Uh-huh.
do a cartoon avatar for them.
Yeah, he has one of me, but I don't have a copy of it. But I suppose if I asked him for it, he'd probably give it to me.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he'd email it to you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay, Junie has another topic for us. It says, I know this isn't a Halloween stream, but what's your scary story? I'm wondering what kind of scary do we want to go with? Do we want to go with it really happened scary, or ghost story type scary, or funny scary? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think shredding 3 fingers in a power saw, it's probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's scary.
That's scary. Yeah, that's very scary. I don't know. I don't have a scary Halloween story. I don't get scared that easily. I'm like a horror buff. Like I watch all the gross stuff, and like and if you do try to scare me, like jump out at me or something like that, I might like yelp, and then I just immediately start laughing. Like, so it doesn't work too
Well,
good. Like, I start
I
cracking
do
up.
have a Halloween one that actually this was when I was like 14 and with the Methodist Church youth group that there was actually a crawl space, under the log cabin that had been the original church. And so for the youth group, we decided to do a spook house there for the younger kids. And they literally had to go through on hands and knees. And just, most of it was just, spider webs and some flashing lights. And, I very low budget done by teenagers. We couldn't do a whole lot. But what we did was that I went in as being the last person in the first group. And I went off to a side flap that we had covered up. So after I went through it, nobody could see there was an opening there. And I did a bit of theatrical makeup at the time. So I bloodied myself up. And I had a shirt that I had a chunk of cardboard in the back and a broken off knife sticking out of it. So then, when the next group came through, I got in at the back of the next group and kind of stumbled out at the end of the group. And apparently we put it on a little too well because no one else would go in after that.
That's a job well done. Yeah.
I have a good story. And I'm a little ashamed to admit this because this really happened. But my siblings and I were home, and I was probably around 15 at the time. And my younger sister's best friend was home alone. And so the friend was probably around 13. And my older brother, who was probably around 17 at the time, because we knew that she was home alone, he called her number and did not identify himself and just said, "Is your mom home?" And when she said no, he said, "Is your dad home?" And when she said no, he gave this maniacal laugh and then hung up. After he hung up, our phone rang like 5 seconds later, and she was terrified out of her wits and needed someplace to go because she was afraid of whoever had just called her, not knowing it was us.
Oh, no. Oh.
We went over to her house and got her and brought her over to our house, and she stayed with us for the evening until her parents got home. But I don't think we ever told her that it was us.
Oh no, the poor girl.
No.
Man, it's like we've seen that movie, God bless you. We saw that movie. Oh my God, it didn't end well. That poor girl.
Well, that movie hadn't been made yet.
See that you guys were writing it there in your living room. You didn't even know.
There we go. Yep. She probably told the story to someone who ended up writing the script.
Exactly. Oh God, that is funny. Oh gosh. I would say I could tell you I will just make it like a joke. My scariest Halloween story is that I was married on Halloween.
Oh, cool.
And it's actually kind of funny because it was in a private home, one of the larger ones at a seashore town, and they had this big sweeping porch and everything. And of course, my ex was in a tuxedo for the wedding, and there were trick-or-treaters that came up to the door. So he answered the door to give them candy, and they went running away from the house after they got the candy, going, "We're going to come back next year. They got a butler. They have a butler in that house." Because they thought that the tuxedo was just like that. The house must be some rich people or something like that with a butler. But we tell that story. Not exactly scary. And the marriage was okay. It wasn't too scary. So that's it. I only have a funny story because I don't scare that easy. Sorry. I don't. But
that being said in the days before caller ID, this is in the days before push button phones. This is a rotary phone. And that's why it's all the more impressive that she called us so quickly, because we were using a rotary phone.
I have a friend that likes to change her name on her phone, like her for when it comes up and her picture and stuff. But she's always calling herself like the devil, or I could see what you're doing and stuff like that. Like I don't know how, but it's hysterical. She just likes to have fun with it. But I finally put a name in for her, so she can't do it because apparently, if you put your own name in the phone, it only comes up what you say. You know, but. Oh.
Yeah, I've got a tuxedo kitty, and I was trying to get in the spirit of Halloween, but now he's just afraid of black Sharpies.
Oh, you didn't. You colored him in.
I wouldn't really do it.
You got, oh, you're giving me a chuckle there. I'm like, oh no, poor kitty. Yeah, you have to use like the black Sharpie, Yeah.
No, I know people who've done that, but I would not do that on an animal. When I lived in Minneapolis, there was a guy in the neighborhood who was just flamboyantly gay. I mean, literally wearing rainbows. And every month he would dye his hair a different color, and he went for like the fluorescent greens and orange and yellow. And every time he dyed his hair, he dyed his poodle to match.
Ah.
So I saw this dog walking around the neighborhood as being orange and green and yellow.
That sounds fun. That being says you crack me up if I told you about trying to do an exorcism on my possessed phone with my Pentecostal friend when I was young. And poor dog. I think we've covered all of the topics that have been suggested. If there's anyone in the chat that has something else they'd like us to talk about, please go ahead and suggest it. Otherwise, we will come up with our own. Claire, did you have anything specific that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I'd like to say I did, but no, I didn't come prepared. I am.
That's okay. That's okay.
I am. I just love to talk. I like to have conversations, and I'm enjoying the chat. How they're going back and forth about quite a few things. I do think that last comment you had up there about Meg Getz, I just want to say that is a nightmare of mine. I said I didn't scare too easily, but if you start talking about that kind of stuff, yeah, that does scare the shit out of me. Like that would be a horror story for me. Like. Yeah, I want to talk about how you can't even talk to people like that. Like you cannot even have a conversation with people that are just that outrageously in what they believe that they won't open their minds even a slight bit. Like they have to be derogatory. They have to bring it down kind of low. They have to talk to you like you're a child or like you don't know anything or or you just can't. If you have a different opinion, you're just wrong. Like it's not even that it's an opinion. You're just wrong. Like you don't know anything that you're talking about. And that to me is scary stuff. That is the closing down of the world. That is one of the biggest issues I have with trying to deal with people on a regular basis. Not being able or willing to have just normal discourse with someone, just a normal conversation, normal discourse, with someone.
They're so certain in their opinions that there's no chance of actually having a discussion.
I really question whether some of those people really believe some of the things that they say. Like Candace Owens, I really get the impression that some of the things that she says, she doesn't really believe them. She only says them because she's paid to say them.
Yeah, well, in her case, I think that's most of them. That, she's just going with whoever she thought was going to promote her and give her the most.
Yeah, it's like they're wearing a mask just to get to where they're going. And they have no actual belief in behind anything that they're saying. And to me, that's even worse. I mean, when
well, people like that, especially that, they're selling themselves out and they're doing things that are directly, detrimental to their own community.
But that's just it. It causes so much damage. If you want to cause that kind of damage, at least believe in what you're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
like, have some conviction behind it, not just like selling a story for, whatever small gain you're going to get for it. This is true damage. And that makes it even worse. Like somebody like Gates, who like actually believes some of the rhetoric that comes out of his mouth. Actually, he says it with such conviction. I think he might believe some of this stuff, I hope not, but I think he may. But you're right, Candace, it does appear that she does not. And to me, that's even more damaging, because that sets a precedent that we don't have to own what we say. We don't have to believe in the stories that the narratives that we're putting out here for people to believe. That's a very dangerous precedent, in my eyes anyway. To me, that's scary. That should have been my Halloween scary story, because that's scary. That is definitely scary to me.
Well, and just the total lack of ethics, that it's like, I'll get what I can out of it and screw the rest of you.
I constantly wonder how much of that is the case in the religious community. I think that the vast majority of the prosperity gospel preachers are complete con artists. I don't think they believe a word of what they say. Yeah. But even the regular preachers, the everyday Sunday you go to church and you see them up in the front of the room, I wonder if they really believe everything that they preach.
Well, just look at the terminology that they use, considering their fold, their flock, their sheep. They're all manipulative terms, are they not? You are in control, and they will believe whatever I am going to say to them. I'm going to sell my narrative to them, and I am not even giving them the respect enough to know any different than what I say.
The Lord is my shepherd. He shall fleece me every year until I am fat enough to eat.
Yeah, and it's just like you cannot question, and they're not going to answer their questions if you do. You're just going to be ostracized.
I think that those are the people you really have to be worried about, and you can't trust an authority who will not accept questions.
Okay, that being said, has a very interesting question for us, and I think we're going to have a lot to say to this one. I'm a new YouTuber, but I'm having problems figuring out how to get videos made, mostly due to self-consciousness. Any tips? Yeah, lots. Taram gave you one piece of very good advice, which is that you don't have to put your face on the screen. Vice Rhino did not for years, and Paula Gia rarely does. And
I won't.
And you don't, and Purple doesn't. So yeah, you put up an avatar and have
make a
voice.
brand. Yeah, make a brand. It is freeing. I will say it added to my confidence a lot, that I didn't have to worry about being camera ready. I didn't have to worry. I have a condition where sometimes I am in a lot of pain, and I didn't want people to see it every day because I don't want to explain it and I don't want to talk about it. So I wanted to put myself and my voice out there without that coming into it. And for other reasons too. I had a very feminist reason also. I had a friend that I had a channel with, and every time we had a discussion about something intelligent, there was always someone in the chat talking about what she was wearing or her makeup for the day, or how well that sweater fit her. And it pissed me off to no end that she was the brightest person I knew and was getting absolutely no credit from half of her audience for it. And I decided not to put myself out there for that reason. I mean, they can pick on my avatar all they want, but they're going to have to listen to my voice. I wanted the conversation to be the most prominent part of whatever was going on, what we were talking about, and not what we looked like or anything. And I actually admire those that can come out every day like yourself, Godless, and put yourself out there. I personally couldn't put myself in that position at once. I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet. So if that's holding you back, use an avatar. Just brand it. Use it everywhere, the same one, and get your name out there.
There are a lot of reasons. People have a huge variety of reasons why they prefer not to be on camera. But there have been a lot of successful channels that have been going 5 to 10 years that they have never been on camera. They've always been behind some kind of illustration.
Mhm.
And, you
I
know,
get
some
it.
of them have gotten tens of thousands of subscribers without anyone knowing what they look like.
I have a perfect example that I use. I get attacked for it regularly from the community where I originally started hanging out, because I won't come on camera. And I just bring up Corpse Husband. Millions of followers. Never showed his face, not once. And he can do whatever he wants. And you know, he's up there with some of the biggest YouTubers. He's one of the most popular YouTubers in a whole different genre over there. He makes some much younger gamer, the gaming industry and everything like that. But I mean, I'm talking millions and millions of people follow him, and he doesn't have to show his face. It's a personal thing. If that's what's holding you back, don't do it. Use an avatar. Then you can concentrate on your content instead of all of the camera angles and the focus and all of that.
Yeah, honestly, I mostly do it just because, it's nice that I can mute my mic, that people don't have to hear me coughing. They don't have to see how often I have to wipe my nose or garbage like that,
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you just said, Claire, goes very much with what I think is the most important part, which is it's more about what you have to say than how you have to say it.
Right.
Some of the best advice that I ever got was after I made my first video and I released it and I watched it after I released it. And I was like, my gosh, there were some severe audio problems with it. And, there were issues with it. And Vice Rhino said to me, if you go back and watch my first video, it was crap. And what you have to say is more important than how you have to say it. Working on the technical aspects, learning to be able to edit, working with, all the equipment, that will come with practice. Just make sure that you have something that people want to hear.
Yeah. I was just part of a small creator series called Why YouTube. It was just a group of us. I think there was like 10, and we rotated, and we're all like less than 1,000 subscribers, like very small channels. And we all started within this year, and we were talking about some of the ins and outs. And I have a playlist on my channel. That being said, if you would like to check that out, they all had some different trials and errors that they went through and what we did. If you're starting a channel, one of the best things I can do is that if you're going to be putting stuff out is to use the customization to show what's coming up. I use it because you don't have a community tab. You don't have a way to communicate with people what's going on. So you create your streams ahead of time and you put it out there, and it kind of tells people, what is coming up and what you're going to be doing. And just to be proud of your content, whatever it is you're going to do, you're the one that has the final say on what you want out there and how you want to represent yourself. So the best advice I can give you, it took me a year to start my channel because I wanted to be sure of how I wanted to present myself. And I can tell you, I thought about it for a year. And then as soon as I started my channel, within a month, I changed everything. I changed everything. It wasn't going the way I thought. I had a little bit of a bump. I had some personal things going on. And then just to produce content, I was putting out the Am I the Asshole threads, which is just a way to open up a conversation about things with people in a little funnier way. You bring another person on and you get to talk about a situation and you get to bring other issues in. And I use it to make points and to be funny. But also it is very entertaining with the chat, and it's a way of communicating with other people and just getting these conversations started. But I did it because I had to produce something, or like if I wanted to keep a channel, they tell you to at least put one thing out a week if you can, and keep your name out there so people know that you're out there. And so I did it then, and it actually is one of the most popular things on my channel. Like the 1 week since February that I didn't do it, since I started, I got so many DMs. They were like, what happened? Where is it? Like, why didn't you do it? I had to do 2, like the following week to make up to it. They were holding me to task. So you never know what people are going to appreciate about you. Just be you and what you represent. Because it is, you were talking a little bit about being bullied. You have to have a thick skin to be out here. I deal with it all the time. I'm very soft for a bear. I'm very soft on the inside, and it gets hard to hear what people have to say about what you do. or people will from everywhere have opinions about what you do and what you say. So just make sure you're being yourself and you're owning it, and whatever content you're putting out there, you are proud of it, because that's the only thing that's got me through since February. I would have quit, but
and one of the things is what you're already doing here, that being in the side chat in the community you're interested in, it's a good way to get your name out, to get people to start to know who you are. So then you'll get more people who will be interested in looking up your stuff and seeing what you made.
Yep. If you can go into the side chat of people who have, a little bit bigger streams, like Shannon Q, Paula Gia, Prophet of Zod, when he does a premiere, and have some of those bigger name people start to notice you, when they start seeing you on a regular basis and they start noticing you, they're more likely to go look for you. And then the next step is to get yourself as a guest on other people's shows. Critical Cripple is a really good one to do, because Dave does a show called Critical Questions. You don't need any particular talent to do that. He just asks silly questions and you answer them. And people
those are entertaining. Those are so entertaining. I love to watch them. Yeah.
I have not watched one for a while, and I'm derelict in that, because Dave has done a lot to promote me and help me get where I am.
Weren't you just on one? Because I just saw you, I think, today or yesterday.
No, I haven't been on for a while.
Oh, okay.
Well, and if you're planning to do some atheist content, contact Neil, the 604 Atheist.
Definitely.
He does deconversion stories. Basically gets somebody on there, and interviews them about what brought you to being an atheist. And the other one is B has been very active, doing a lot of live streams lately, like twice a week, and again, he's interested in just getting people on there in the community just to talk about themselves, just to, get people in the community to know each other.
Right. And if you contact me on Twitter, I'll look into possibly getting you on a show in the future. I need to find out a little bit more about you and what you're about, what you want to talk about. But I think I could definitely get you into a stream. Next week's stream is already set, but the following week is open at this point.
And also, that being said, if your channel's already started and you want to get your name out, you can also come and do something funny on my channel. I do one-on-ones and promote the channels. I mean, I do that for a lot of small creators. I really believe in promoting small creators, especially those that are entertaining and they have their own voice. I mean, it's the best you can do is get involved in a community and just share it around.
Yeah, and I do just casual chats on my channel Wednesday afternoons and Thursday nights. It's like I name them for obscure holidays I find, but usually we don't stay on topic more than 5 or 10 minutes, and then it's just wandering off into whatever anyone wants to talk about.
That sounds like mayhem on Saturday.
Yeah, so generally it just winds up being a group of 4 or 5 people just hanging out and babbling at each other.
Those can be fun, though. I've had some of the most organic conversations about tough subjects in the middle of doing something gracious in the middle of my mayhem streams, which are like totally not about that. And they've been good,
Well, sometimes it's if there's something serious in the news, we'll stay on that for half an hour, and sometimes it'll just be the most ridiculous things we'll be talking about.
Listen, we had 6 naked avatars up there about a week ago, and for an hour and a half, we just talked about anti-vaxxers and the situations in all our different countries, in Australia and in England and in the United States, and it was good. It was a great conversation. It's just where it was seemed a little odd, but that's what mayhem was all about. So it was good.
Speaking of every day's a holiday somewhere, Claire, do you know what day it is today?
No.
Today is National Bring Your Teddy Bear to Work or School Day.
Really? How did I miss that? Oh, wow. No. Jeez, I
And
could have
I
been
have
all over.
done that. I have brought Claire Bear to work with me on the screen today.
Well, there you go. See, you had a mission and you accomplished it. Look at that. Well, I hope I did right by all the little cuddly bears everywhere.
Well, I did mine this afternoon, and the holiday I had found for today was National Failure Day.
Oh,
So it was the day to celebrate all the times you screwed up.
I can't believe they're both on the same day. Isn't that weird? Like the combinations that they put together for the holidays on the same days. The teddy bear day, bring your teddy bear to work. Why? Because it's National Failure Day. Like bring your teddy bear to work. So it's easier to get over the day.
Right.
You got something to hug.
Right. You got something to hug and cuddle, and make you feel better. If you can't have pudding, you need a teddy bear, right?
Okay, and this is another thing that's come up from time to time, but yeah, I think we also need to normalize that it's okay for adults to still sleep with stuffed animals in their bed.
Okay.
Well, some people think it's weird, but it's like, I think it's a lot more common than most people realize.
I think you should be able to do whatever you want. If it's your room, it's your bed, do what you want. That's where I am with it. I don't have a stuffed animal on my bed. It's probably because there's too much other pillows and things, but but I do have a collection of stuffed animals somewhere else. I do. It's hard to get rid of like things from your past. I don't know about you guys, but I tend to hold on to not everything, but some things are just too sentimental. I just feel dread trying to think about replacing them or getting rid of them.
I don't have much of anything. I don't know if I do have anything from my childhood. In fact, that's one of the things that came up recently was I was asked for some pictures of myself and my uncle for the memorial as a child. And I said, I don't have any pictures of myself as a child. My parents had those. And when my mother died, my dad has them now, and I don't have them. They're not mine.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have anything that goes back to when I was a child because through various moves and events in my life, I wound up losing all of it along the way somewhere.
And Ian Davenport has some really good advice here. Do what you want, just don't hurt others.
Yes.
Exactly. That's the point right there. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, everything is fine.
Yeah, I try not to be, insulting or belittling of people. Even if they're people who you completely disagree with, if you're putting other people down all the time, it's going to tend to put people off, and not many people are going to want to watch.
And I missed a comment from Junie because we kind of, I was trying to stay on topic with a different comment, but earlier Junie had said, have a story to share, contact me. So yeah, if you've got a story that you want to share, Junie is really good at putting together stories, storyboards, and Junie is not on camera with their storyboards, and so
yeah,
that's
Junie has been doing a really nice series of spooky stories this month. Basically along the line of the type of stories you tell around the campfire.
Oh,
yeah. So I think she's put out 4 or 5 in that series so far. If you go check her channel.
And that being said, says I have teddy bears decoratively tucked into my headboard and an overweight bear, my husband, lying next to me. So it's a stuffed animal either way. Oh, this is interesting. I'm a therapist. So I know that judgment just makes people close up. And how can you learn from them if they aren't open?
exactly. That's so true. That's so true.
And with that, we are nearly out of time. So I'm going to start wrapping things up for us and giving everyone a chance to shill for whatever is coming on their channels soon. And let's go ahead and start with you, Claire. What do you have coming up in the near future?
Well, Saturday night, I have my Mayhem stream at midnight Eastern Standard Time here in the States. And it's just a panel, and it's like anything goes. We usually pick a topic. It's usually adult topic and language, so it just has a lot of sexual innuendo and connotations there. But we do talk serious subjects too. Things about the news. Like last week, we talked about the Facebook shutting down, and about the fact that sexual anarchy was trending on Twitter, but not for the reasons you would think. It was actually a political statement by Charles Kirk, trying to say that that's what the Democrats were trying to do to the United States. But it actually turned into quite the conversation. So, that'll be at midnight. And then Sunday, I'm doing a Black Mirror review. I'm going into the old BB series Black Mirror, and we'll be doing every single episode with my friend JC from the Do Good Letters, who I enjoy. We just like dissecting them a little, and we compare them to some Twilight Zone episodes. It's kind of nerdy, but we're both big fans of the series, and we don't want it to die. And it's available on Netflix right now, even for the BBC Netflix. I think all 6 seasons are there, or 5 seasons rather, and I think this Sunday I'm covering Striking Vipers, which is about virtual reality and what you can do in virtual reality games that you may not want to do out in the real world, and how it can change your mind about things. So it was a good one. There's all this social, technological issues that come up with these Black Mirror apps. They are upsetting, and they are definitely conversation starters. You don't walk away from a Black Mirror episode without thinking about something, for sure. But that'll be on Sunday. So
That is what I learned from playing Red Dead Redemption 2. As I was finishing the last video game, I went on Twitter and asked for suggestions, and a couple people suggested that game, and I thought, this is not the kind of game that I play at all. But hey, they said that it fit, the criteria of what I like to play, so I went ahead and played it. And I discovered some new things that I never realized that I really enjoyed, like hunting. I absolutely adore virtual hunting. And I actually feel kind of bad for all these animals that I'm skinning and leaving their carcasses out to rot. But then I have to keep reminding them, these are not real animals. There's nothing out there rotting.
Yeah.
But I would never go hunting in real life, but virtual hunting is great.
Yeah, it kind of opens up things when you can do it virtually. It kind of opens up the world a little bit more.
No animals were harmed in the playing of this video game.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Yep. The thing, though, that I found absolutely the most amusing is if you press L1 when you're close to a person, and then square, you will greet them. But if you press L1 and you're not the correct distance from them, you'll aim your gun at them. And I have shot so many people trying to say hello that I find it absolutely hilarious that I'm just trying to say hello and I accidentally shoot them.
That sounds like me. My coordination is so bad, I can't even play those kind of games. I'm like a noob at everything. Oh, that's what I would be doing. I'd be killing everyone instead of saying hi. I'd be like, hello. Oh, there they go.
Oh, message for you, sir.
Junie asked, is there a Granny Gaming channel? No, there is not. And I'm beginning to think maybe I should have one, because I actually am really pretty bad at these games, but I'm also extremely persistent. And so I will usually get the platinum trophy on almost every game that I play, because I just keep playing until I get it.
Well, I don't play video games, but I threw an idea at Sloth Girl and her son that they think it's a good idea. I might try, of doing a channel I was going to call something like Incompetent Gamer, that they will just put me in front of one of their games and I will try to play it with absolutely no instructions and no idea what I'm doing.
Yep. That's what I do too. Yep. And then if I get totally lost, then I go online and look for hints. And when I reach the point where I've gotten through almost the entire game, I will go through and watch other people's videos to find out where something is, because I'm not going to spend forever looking for it.
Yeah, I was just wondering if other people would find that amusing, to just, watch me
I,
stumble through with no clue what I'm trying to do.
Right.
you
That's
know,
what I'm wondering too. Yep.
yeah, well, you know what? That's what we had to do. We got to get a bunch of us that stumble through with nothing to do. At least then it would be fun. We could turn it into a big learning comedy thing. Like, in a group, it wouldn't be so bad. Like,
Well, like I tried to play Among Us online with a group of people from our community,
Mm-hmm.
and I was so bad at doing the tasks. I couldn't get the controls to work right to do the tasks. So everybody kept voting me off the ship, thinking that I was faking it. And it's like, no, I'm not the imposter. I'm just incompetent at the maintenance.
I actually like that for a new game, but I actually had that set up for my Discord to play. But everybody in my Discord, they play more advanced virtual games like Godless Granny, so they weren't interested. It was like too, like not as entertaining for them. But I was fascinated with that game. I would play that game with you. But I'm not that good either. But I get voted off a lot. But I will tell you a little story. My grandson came to me and he said he was worried about how good he was getting at Among Us. And I was like, why? He goes, like, I'm really good. And I go, yeah. He goes, yeah, because I can make them believe anything. I'm getting really good at lying. Should I be concerned? It's like, as long as you're only doing it in the game. But, then we had this big discussion on, like, lying for motive, lying for purpose. And, like, I was fascinated that at his age, he actually thought that he was concerned that people were going to think he wasn't the most trustworthy person because he was really good at Among Us.
Actually,
And
that speaks very highly of his ethics that he would question that being a problem.
That's what I told him. I said, the fact that you're even telling me this, you don't have a problem. Because let me explain why. It was good. It was good. But it is funny. It's a game. You got to manipulate people into believing stuff, So that's probably why I stink at it.
And Purple, what do you have coming up on your channel?
Well, I have pretty much plugged it already. I just Wednesdays at noon and Thursdays at 10 p.m. Central Time. I just do the casual chats I was talking about before.
Okay.
And then I tend to show up on the shills who do pub chats Fridays at 6 and the regular shills show, which is basically just like watching bad science videos and cutting them apart and making fun of them. That's Saturdays at 8 Central Time.
Okay.
So it's fun.
Very good. And what I have coming up, I started working on part 2 of my response to the interview between Sean McDowell and William Lane Craig, where William Lane Craig drops the bombshell that he doesn't believe that any of Genesis 1 through 11 is to be taken literally, that all of that is mytho-history. And for part 2, Erica Gutsick-Gibbon was going to help me. Well, she is going to help me because one of the major things that he addresses in there is how he believes that there was a literal Adam and Eve that are the progenitors of all of the human race, and that this Adam and Eve are Homo heidelbergensis. And so Erica is going to discuss those possibilities, but Erica has a cold. Erica has a serious case of laryngitis, and so Erica cannot do that this week. And so that is coming up, but not this week. I don't know exactly when it will be. It depends on how long it takes Erica to recover. So I'm going to try to put together something really quickly tomorrow and see if I can't get it out by Friday or Saturday. And it's going to be a response to 5 more questions every Christian should be able to answer with Elisa Childers from Cross-Examined from Frank Turek's site. And next week's stream is also going to be a fun one. Kitty, the atheist, will be here. And let's see, who was the other person that was coming next week with Kitty? We're doing a kind of a Halloween. Oh, I know. It was the Lone Wanderer. And we are doing a Halloween themed stream. The Lone Wanderer found us an old video from some church organization on 10 reasons why Christians should not celebrate Halloween. And so we are going to do a reaction to this old and silly movie.
Oh, okay.
I really
interesting.
Yeah, I shouldn't call it a movie. I should call it a video because it's only like 10, 15 minutes long. I also have something that I will want to reveal, but it is specific to Kitty, And so I couldn't do it this week. It has to wait until next week when Kitty is here. And so make sure you are here for the first 5 minutes or first 10 minutes of the show, because I'm going to reveal this. It's nothing huge, but it is interesting. That I'm going to reveal at the beginning of the show.
Oh, I
Okay.
can't wait for that. That sounds exciting.
And go ahead, Claire.
I was going to say, I just enjoyed myself very much. Thank you for inviting me to panel, because this was a lot of fun. I love to do this.
Well, thank you so much, Purple, and thank you so much, Claire, for coming, and thank you everyone in the chat for being here. It has been an absolutely lovely evening, and thank you for bringing the topics and bringing us something to talk about today.
Mm-hmm. It's completely enjoyable.
Yep, it was fun, and we got to discuss some important matters here.
Yeah, we did. We did. We got some good things said too. Okay, with that, live your life.
Bye.